Welcome to this week's Movie Math, where the animation field just got a little more crowded. Yes, while DreamWorks Animation struggles to stay in business, yet another animation studio was born in Paramount Animation, with the stunning success of the SpongeBob movie Sponge Out of Water. Jeffrey Katzenberg surely has fond memories of the days when it was just him versus the Mouse House. Yet there was so much money in play, the other studios were determined to get a piece of the action, no matter how long it took. And it took a long time. However, slowly but surely, Sony first found its footing with Hotel Transylvania, then Warner Brothers with the Lego Movie, and now Paramount. Then, of course, don't forget Blue Sky Studios and Illumination Entertainment, animation juggernauts who were the first to loosen Katzenberg and Mickey's lock on animation fans. Now, besides changing the animation landscape, this huge victory for Paramount is also going to change Hollywood's release schedule tactics. First, Captain America the Winter Soldier expanded the summer movie season to freaking April. And now, with first the Lego Movie and now SpongeBob, early February is going to become a hot release date for all ages fare. In fact, in 2016, Illumination Entertainment already has their Louis C.K. and Kevin Hart Pets movie set to open, while Warner Brothers has staked out February 2017 for another one of their animated movies, likely the Lego Movie 2. And speaking of sequels, Paramount has already said they're eager to crank out more SpongeBob movies. And maybe all this success will even encourage them to make an animated Avatar movie? But while Paramount rejoiced, things were less jovial for Warner Brothers and Universal. Jupiter Ascending proved to be a huge flop for Warner Brothers right out of the gate, but the silver lining is that at least this was widely expected, especially after they delayed the film from its original summer 2014 release date. It opened on par with the Wachowskis' Speed Racer from back in 2008, and both Speed Racer and Jupiter Ascending cost over $100 million to make. One has to wonder how many baths Warner Brothers will take before they end their relationship with the siblings. Warner Brothers does pride themselves on strong relationships with talent, and might be convinced that as soon as the Wachowskis leave the studio, that's when they'll produce another Matrix-style hit. At this point, I think we can all agree that's unlikely, but considering the drop in quality of the Wachowskis' work and what they were once capable of, perhaps Warner Brothers should just consider it an act of charity or mercy and set the duo free. But it could have been even worse for Warner Brothers, as Seventh Son was also supposed to be released by the studio, that is until they parted ways with Legendary Pictures. Now it's Universal's problem, and indeed the expensive and much delayed fantasy film only opened to the tune of $7 million. Surprisingly though, Seventh Son has already pulled in $80 million plus overseas, doing particularly well in, China. But still, since studios only get about half of a film's box office revenue, it's unlikely that Seventh Son will be able to break even. Speaking of China, Mockingjay Part 1 finally opened in the box office-rich country, and in one day took in almost $10 million. That's thanks not just to a growing fan base, but also likely because the delay of the film increased audience interest. Plus, of course, China is the only country to get Mockingjay Part 1 in 3D. The creative and financial results have inspired Lionsgate to release Mockingjay Part 2 in IMAX 3D worldwide, which they announced on Friday. Other current global hits are Paddington, which just crossed $200 million, making it the second most successful movie of 2015 to date after Taken 3. And just as all ages fare flourishes here in the States, Big Hero 6 has entered the top 10 domestically for 2014 and just passed $500 million worldwide. But don't count on a Big Hero 6 sequel just yet, as Hero and Baymax still lag behind not just Frozen, obviously, but even Tangled. Should Disney Animation just cut to the chase and go into the princess business, period? As for the rest of the top 10 here in the US, American Sniper might have lost the top spot, yet still fell just about 20% in its fourth week of wide release. It's nearing $300 million stateside and has $361 million worldwide. Project Almanac had a surprisingly strong hold in its second weekend, dropping just about 35%, and that was actually the biggest drop in the top 10 as there were strong holds across the board. But most impressive was The Imitation Game, which fell just about 3% and has reached a domestic total of $74 million. Slow and Steady might not win Harvey Weinstein any Oscar gold this time around, but Cold Hard Cash is a nice consolation prize. Not to mention, this proves Star Trek Into Darkness didn't permanently sour audiences to Benedict Cumberbatch after all. Marvel should also be very happy to see these kinds of numbers for their future Doctor Strange. But while everything is coming up roses this weekend at the box office, next weekend there should be some casualties as two major players enter the market just in time for a vital weekend where Valentine's Day and President's Day collide. 50 Shades of Grey is expected to be the big winner, and while it's unlikely it'll be able to match The Passion of the Christ's $83 million debut back in February 2004, it could potentially beat out the Lego Movie to become the second biggest opening ever for the month. Kingsman: The Secret Service is going to put up a bit of a fight, though, and should easily best the debut of the last Matthew Vaughn movie based on a Mark Millar comic, Kick-Ass, which had $19.8 million back in 2010. And that's the weekend box office. I'm Grace Randolph, and we just did some movie math. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope we'll go beyond the trailer for these other top movies.